How's it going, everybody? It's time for more College COD action here. We're about to get into our second set of matches thereabouts. My name's Infinity. Joining me on the desk, as always, is Proper. Andy, mate, it's good to see you smiling.
It's good to see you too. You know, I kind of got spoiled. We got to see a little bit of the production view, and I got to see your shirt. It's always like kind of like this like big gambit that I have going for myself, a little mini game that I have here, Brody. Is what colorful shirt are you gonna wear? How disastrous? That looks really nice. You look fantastic today, brother.
Yeah, my girlfriend told me that she thought it looked nice, which is for me is a lottery. To be honest, you know, sometimes I don't know if she's going to be like, oh, that's revolting, get rid of that shirt, or she's going to love it.
I trust her pick of clothing well more than yours.
Yeah, and that is the right call, Andy. This shirt is something that I thought, you know what, I wore it when I went on holiday last week, for those of you guys who didn't know. And, well, I'm going to wear it, get more mileage out of it, just wear it on some broadcast. This is the first one. This is like a College COD broadcast exclusive, getting this shirt out there. Anyway, mate, we got some College COD to talk over. First match here, St. Clair Saints versus Newberry. This is going to be a good one, I think, especially for St. Clair. This roster has been really fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, St. Clair, look, you know, they got the big old run back versus Davenport. We were doing regional playoffs. We know that they have the caliber of team that can stick it to some of the top dogs that we have, honestly speaking, that are already qualified for LAN. And hell, they feel like that they deserve to be there as well. Newberry, on the other side, they did eke out in lower finals in the regional playoffs, so it's interesting to see how they're going to kind of stack up against each other here versus a very angry St. Clair.
Yeah, it does really feel like they're going up against it, doesn't it? Because this St. Clair roster, for sure, something to behold, let's say that much. But before we get into the specifics, I think of, well, we're going to get the rosters, actually. Let's just talk about St. Clair's then. Let's just talk about the roster. We love this roster. Of course, as we said, St. Clair, they've been looking pretty good this season. Priestley, Bendy, Blaze, and Relays. For me, I mean, like, the entire roster is great, right, Andy? But for whatever reason, it always seems to be Priestley that comes out of these, like, silly, out-of-nowhere plays.
I mean, when we talk about a Call of Duty player, we always talk about, like, the ice genetics, right? Priestley has that and a little bit more. We've been talking very highly about Priestley for a few years here now. You can see he's junior there at St. Clair College. But, I mean, don't sleep on these freshmen because, I mean, every single one of these players, what I've come to realize, the more and more content that I get, the more and more Call of Duty maps that I get to digest from the Saints roster, is that they all have pop-off potential in their own ways possible. Priestley is just able to do it a little bit more consistent than the other ones, but I wouldn't sleep on the rest of this roster and what they can do.
Yeah, absolutely. That is the right call to make, mate, because, again, this roster, they have been tearing through a lot of teams in the regular season. It's fair to say that much. And, again, the only reason they didn't qualify for LAN straight off the bat was because they had to get through Northwood to do so. And, I mean, that's not fair. Yeah. Let's be honest, Andy. It's not nice to try and do. On the other side, though, we have a Newberry roster that is also pretty much worth talking about. As you said, Andy, they surprised a lot of people, I think, during regional playoffs. KB, Cells, Freaky, and Diff. Maybe they can continue those surprises here versus St. Clair.
I just always foresee when I cast Newberry, me saying, like, Diff Freaky on the flank, and it's just like, somebody's going to kind of, like, quote that out of context, especially our production. But, yeah, I mean, KB, Cells, Freaky, Diff at your 4-player roster representing Newberry College. And, again, I really do feel like that when they came out of the gates and they already had to face JMU in their opening matchup, it really did say a lot that how close they were able to play up against that JMU roster. You get to see what they look like there at the end of the road. They had a very tough region when it comes down to it. And when they came down to playoffs, when push came to shove, they actually kind of gave a few teams probably a little bit more pushback than they were wanted to, specifically in the controls versus Florida Gulf Coast and Mars Hill. This is a team that you cannot sleep on. They made it all the way to the lower finals where they inevitably did lose to Mars Hill yet again, but they played them close in that hardpoint map number 1. Just got to find some sort of consistency.
Yeah, well, let's talk about those game modes then. You mentioned the control strength there in playoffs, particularly for Newberry. It feels like it might be a late blooming factor for Newberry, we'll say that much. 6-10 in control this season thus far. It's not great. It has been a weakness in the past, but not so much a weakness when we're looking up towards the hard point for them, and the Search and Destroy as well can sometimes be a 50-50. On the other hand, though, you can see very much clear strengths in the hard points in the Search and Destroy.
Look, I just want to go ahead and put it out there. I never said that they were super strong in control. They were playing them close to control. A lot of round 5, specifically in playoffs for this Newberry roster versus Florida Gulf Coast, Mars Hill, a high point as well, and that really does say a lot. But yeah, I mean, when you look at the statistical advantage, it's Saints all day.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, maybe Newberry can win this out in the map set in the veto process. That's the question that we always kind of have when it comes down to these situations where the odds are most definitely stacked against you. And here we have a palindromatic map set as we go for a hotel, fortress, expo, fortress, and hotel. I don't actually know if palindromes can apply to this kind of thing, opposed to just numbers. Regardless, we're going to go for it here. Expo stashed in the middle there of this map set. And I think that's perhaps the most interesting pick of the lot because it might provide Newberry an advantage again, given that control has been a weakness for them thus far.
I mean, an Expo is still just a very different map set. Let's not forget, these are college athletes. What is their scrim time looking like as we are getting closer and closer to that finals time at the end of the year? So Expo could add a certain bit of interesting dynamics when it gets down to it. We got first two maps to get through, though, and Hotel Hardpoint up on the docket first. Of course, your favorite for the Saints in this map here in matchup altogether. Newberry looking to shut them down.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see what the St. Clair Saints are capable of. If they can come out kind of firing all cylinders at the start of this matchup, they might well just kind of put Newberry in the ground before they even get anything going, and that's not what Newberry all wants. So we'll see what kind of Newberry have to offer here as we get in towards this map. Right off the rip, though, it's Blaze, Priestley, Relays, all of them up there, picking up frags to kick things off. Newberry, they're trying to hold on towards that rotation towards New, and a big 1v1 to take here for Blaze, but does get cut down by Div. So actually some important gunfights being won here by Newberry, but in kind of electing to go for this rotation early, they've been up quite a lot of time with St. Clair.
Cells has actually taken this time to elect a very long flank going up through Cat Room. He's going to be in another 1v1, gets shot in the back by Priestley there in the atrium. This is all for scrap time, but as you were talking about, Brady, this battle, this tussle all the way over towards P2. The Wolves out of Newberry, they understood the task at hand. If they can't break inside P1, we got to get the setup inside P2, and again, coming up with the right kills for the initial setup.
Yeah, good start coming out from Newberry. 4 kills being won around the back line. If Relays was able to get through Freaky there, that would have spelled disaster for the rosters. The spawns, more likely than not, would flip. And that could still occur as well. You just saw a big kill coming through from Priestley as they attempt to flip the spawns out with 35 seconds left. Another one now coming through from Relays from the help desk. And now important gunfights to take if you're Freaky. Big one to win. Around the front, Newberry winning those gunfights as well. This has been a strong defense on this hard point for them. As St. Clair now spawning over towards the Spar side, this is actually not great in terms of the rotation.
No, it's really not. Again, for the Saints there, with P2 being held, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're spawning all the way over where Cells is now, by the way. Hit the rotation almost yesterday to be able to get this north lane control. You still have Freaky causing distress in towards the back as the spawns have unfortunately flipped. For the Saints, they had no idea that play was coming through. Now Newberry are certainly in the driver's seat if about the full 60 off of P2 didn't define that. Their early setup here at P3 will.
Yeah, this is a not great spot for St. Clair to be in. Newberry, they want to chain back P2 and P3. Now looking to do so. Players starting to push through that free to side connector. Relays just laying down, looking to take Freaky off guard. Not going to be able to do so as Freaky doubles up relatively easily. Still though, the heat is on for Freaky, down to 8 HP. Was not ready for Relays to come through with the double. Relays is able to get number 3, and just like that, St. Clair Saints, they will not bleed all the time away to Newberry off the back of that hop.
Yeah, you definitely wanted that break if you are the Saints, and a big one at that. That's going to keep this game just about even as we're taking a look at the rotation over towards P4. The Wolves out of Newberry are already chalking it. Realizes they're already holding the middle of the map. So I swapped to the Vaznev. That would have been a pretty juicy 5 spree. We know how impeccable you can find work with the cruise missile here on Hotel. But the battle for the rotation is not won yet. You still got to deal with these players over by reception.
Blaze goes down, and 31 HP to work with, and not enough bullets left in the magazine. Would have been nice for him to get those frags, but now he's relying on a bit of a pickup coming through from, once again, Priestley and Relays. Relays at 9 and 7, Priestley at 10 and 5, now on 5 in a row. Looking for number 6, and he will find it. That is the cruise missile now in the back pocket. Can he find any more? This is a disastrous position for Newberry to be in, as Priestley is just beaming. That's 3 for Priestley, 9 in a row, and St. Clair Saints haven't boxed in.
He knows that they're still spawning in towards the back, right? Your entire team is still holding in the middle of the map. The spree is not done yet. Triple positive, 15 in 5. Drops down low. KB steps up, gets knocked out of the park. This has been a fantastic string of kills and an even better string of time between P3 and P4 for the Saints. They're going to have themselves just over a 30-point lead going in towards the restaurant, where, again, the Wolves have already kind of packed themselves together inside the restaurant. Bendy looking for the first. Second should be traded. Realize somehow is able to walk away with 2, and that should open up the doors for the Saints, maybe try to bark on early.
Yeah, that's fortunate, at least for Newberry. They didn't allow that T-piece to spell disaster for them. They will regain control of the restaurant hardpoint, and they really do need to keep control of it as well. St. Clair, they were 30 points up. They get control of this hill. This might start to become an indomitable game. Freaky though, holding on for the moment, looking to get some shots in towards Bendy, not able to win that 1 versus 1, and Bendy actually doubles up as well. Fortunately enough, the trophy system for Diff goes huge, as does his attack. He will find 2-piece, and well, another 2-piece now comes through between the St. Clair Saints, make that 3 now as Priestley picks up 2 of his own. Back 30 seconds, that is valuable time. And now you start to face this awkward moment, right? You can see number 2 on the minimap, KB, as he looks to go into the scrap time. You can see Newberry. I thought for a second there, making the right decision and not pushing too heavily in this one, because now Diff is isolated and Priestley, he knows it as well. He is going for this kill. Diff goes out, and now St. Clair, they're knocking at the door of the kitchen for the rotation.
Look like Diff, unfortunately, got caught with a knife out. Couldn't get his weapon up in time. As again, St. Clair are absolutely letting them have it. 20 and 8 for Priestley. What? He's about to double up on his streaks. Even for Realized as well. And the rotation that Newberry once held going over towards top valet has just crumbled at the seams. The Saints coming out of the restaurant were able to take this west side of the map in their favor. Freaky oversteps his boundaries, as well as KB is, and honestly speaking, this is a very disjointed break attempt. You have Newberry just kind of waiting for the respawns again, but while that's all happening, the Saints are building their lead more so.
Yeah, you have to hold this hill if you're Newberry, and this feels like it might not just be the first time we've said this. Priestley now, as you said, streaking out. Number 6, you know what? Why not just overlap your streaks? Why on earth not? Fortunately enough for Newberry, there is somebody to pick the slack. KB is in. For how long is the question, as the players are already starting to regress around that back line. Blaze going to pick up another one. Players now starting to dominate. Cells will find the kills, as will Freaky, and I think it was KB who also got involved in that play. Newberry, they will keep this time out of St. Clair's hands, and that is crucial, at least for keeping themselves in the conversation for this game.
Yeah, I mean, the conversation is just such a minor one. Just the way that the Saints were able to bounce back after Newberry looking so good off that P2 hold, their early rotation over towards P3. But ever since that break in the rotation from 4 to 5, and then also the end there at 6, it has been the St. Clair Saints show. They have themselves about a 50-point lead, and they're still finding kills on the board. Diff, I mean, he's out in no man's land, kind of splitting up the affairs for his teammates. They're still trying to battle for those P2 spawns. As we go in towards the second set, these are a lot of straight gunfights. It just means that nobody's really accruing any time, which, if you are the Wolves, that's a good thing, because you want to find where these Saints members are located at, accrue time where you can. Make sure you can get the rotation towards 2 when it's needed.
Yeah, and I think it's worth saying as well, right, as Cells unfortunately does fall inside the old hard point. For Newberry, there was an opportunity there to basically do what they did on the first set again, get the vast majority of time of P2 and then have a good P3 as well. That strategy might be out of the window now, if you could call it a strategy at all, because St. Clair Saints, they've got control of the rotation. They've got a 60-point advantage over Newberry. I think there's a big hole that Newberry have found themselves here in this game, and they've got to find a big damn shovel to get themselves out of it. St. Clair ready for this rotation. Bendy taking the first shots in. This would be a big 1v1 for KB to take, and Bendy's going to have to run away from that. Semtex is out of position here for the moment as the rest of the team starts to come and help him out. Jeez. And that teamwork is just indomitable. Yes, one player broke behind enemy lines in the form of KB, but it won't be long before he goes down.
It took the words right out of my mouth, Brody. I mean, the setup for St. Clair, the teamwork is just so good. There are trades to speak of across the board themselves. He's starting to cook. There's still a lot of time here in P2. Oh, the Wolves would love to be able to get all of it. Trades galore. Close spawn still intact here for the Saints, which is more of a nuisance than it is anything for Newberry. Even KB struggling to find Priestley as the help will arrive. They're still trying to battle for the scrap time because you almost feel like they have to while they're also putting players on the rotation are Newberry. And the Saints, again, with those close spawns, find the gunfights required. Now they are looking to break on early. Oh, and Priestley found the entry. They can close it out here.
Yeah, Diff going down there is not good enough at all, and the reaction isn't fast from KB. Let's say that for sure. He's got to wait for now. Freaky's coming and joining the show. But I think the show might be over pretty soon. St. Clair just 25 points away from victory. All the kills going their way. Cells will give us a last little punt, and he actually picks up 2. Weakens the defense here, but Newberry spawned just so far away that the regen will come through in time. And now, of course, players coming off the spawn for St. Clair probably going to catch Newberry off guard as they look to break on through. And actually, no, Freaky picks up the double. So Priestley isolated inside. Now going to get Cells super weak, and it should be time for a great American snake off. Priestley, he's through, looking for more. Surely not Priestley! Yeah, I think it's time to put extra bullets in the body. Relays comes and cleans up shop, and St. Clair, they're looking for the last 10.
And they're going to be able to get it. I mean, Newberry are spawning all the way over in Jules and Realize is going to go ahead and cut them down. KB Freaky stood no chance to get through Pantry. The Saints, we're in Canada, by the way. Come on, Brody. It's not just a North American affair. You got to be specific. The Canadians arrive and absolutely let Newberry have it. I mean, towards the end, I want to say towards P2, I started looking at the math on my screen. And ever since the end of that P3, the Saints only allowed about 65 points. to be collected for Newberry across a multitude of hills. They just did not relent at all. Realize Priestley just firmly in the driver's seat throughout the entirety of that map number 1. You can clearly see why the Saints have been able to play these top teams here in the CCL so close all year long.
I mean, like, that last kill cam, or the play of the game, or whatever you want to call it, whatever the official name for it is, disgusting. Like, what do you say, mate? What was it, like an 11 spree or something like that? I know that he had a very advantageous position, right? I mean, I've tried in rank play, albeit a very different setting, to get people off that heady before. I've been in that heady before. I know how potent that thing could be, and trust me, Priestley knows as well. But that is horrendous. And I think really the big difference between the first half and the second, albeit St. Clair definitely felt still like they were in the driving seat, was that Newberry were unable to achieve what they were able to achieve in that first half, right? And that was getting control of the power rotations, right? Making sure that they did get control of P2, because they didn't in the second half. They gave basically the entirety of the hill away to St. Clair. They lost the rotation over towards P3 as well, and you just can't do that. It's unfortunate. You just cannot let that happen. You need to make sure at the very least, if you lose P2 like that, that P3 is better, and it just wasn't.
I mean, there's two pretty big points that needs to be brought up when it comes down to how do you win a hard point. I mean, you got to be able to accrue some time. Check Bart or St. Clair. Got to be able to win rotations. Newberry were able to showcase that, but the biggest number 3 is the gunfight value. And St. Clair's just, their trades were on point. Their positioning's even better. Even the help right there. Priestley just catching Diff off guard, just baiting with them as well. And, like, it's just so exquisite when you get to see a good plan come together. St. Clair were finding these kills in all the right places, around the hill, breaking the hill, on rotation before the hill even pops. Not saying that Newberry weren't, barring maybe that P2. That's where we saw the majority of their kills in and around the hard point. They were finding transitional gunfights, but then the return gunfights, like 10 seconds into the new hill, that's when the Saints showed up, and they found these 3-for-1 trades, the 4 dead as well. That's when Priestley realized we're able to get put to work, cutting players off on rotation galore. It just felt like there was no consistent answer, coming through from Newberry College.
Yeah. Well, that's game 1. That's game 1 for St. Clair. A convincing and indomitable performance as well. And 2 of the names that we were talking about quite often that were popping up 2 pieces, like, well, there were absolutely nothing. More than that, in the case of Priestley, I think specifically with that 11 spree, is Priestley and Relays, right? I mean, these guys have just been names that we've been saying over and over and over again this season thus far. Whenever we've been watching the St. Clair Saints, it's been these guys that are doing the vast majority of the damage, and just there it is again. And I think the more damaging thing, if anything, right, is that Priestley, he's 32 and 14, right? He's got an 11 spree on there. He's got 28 non-traded kills,
sure,
but he also has 2 minutes and 10 inside the hard point, 17 objective kills. Like, those aren't useless kills. He's not just sitting there at the back of the map spawn killing. I don't think you can do that in competitive, but he's not just doing that, right? He is inside the hill. He is defending the hard point.
Well, I mean, you also have to take a look at the supporting cast. I mean, Bendy 16 and 20. That's still 36 engagements. 13 to 16 kills were non-traded, by the way, with 2,300 damage. Those are good stats. And almost a minute of hill time as well. Even Blast, 14 and 17. Like, these are good stats. A minute and 36 for the OBJ time. They were finding a lot of kills on rotation. I mean, just for Priestley, again, continuously sing the praises and give this guy some flowers. Having his teammates bump from the objective. He was holding it down solo a lot of times, how you saw there. Even at the end inside the kitchen, Priestley is an absolute phenom. He's able to do the dirty work, not only just find the kill. So that's map 1, whether you wanted it to be or not for Newberry. St. Clair absolutely hands you your tails between your legs as we set ourselves up for a Fortress Search and Destroy. And you feel like that it is a must-win going forward for Newberry to be able to win this Search and Destroy off of St. Clair going in towards Fortress. But, I mean, it's such an uphill battle, man.
Yeah, like, I kind of come back to that conversation point about the control, right, about Expo just being in this series. Maybe there is some reprieve there of, like, well, Expo is still... is it new? Is it new at this point? I don't think so. I mean,
newer.
Teams are definitely... It's newer. Teams are still getting used to it, though, and maybe, obviously, this being CCL, there's kind of an element of, you know, maybe that newer element of Expo gives you some advantage in the control. But I still think, yeah, you're absolutely right. The search and destroy here between these 2 teams is paramount for victory. We gotta see it, man. Fortress, search and destroy. That's where we're going up next. Newberry, they gotta find a way to stop the momentum.
That just freaked me out. You saw how we're looking at back P2 there on Hotel, and we just immediately flipped inside of Fortress. Do you imagine, like, all these maps just, like, blended together? No, never mind. Opening round, St. Clair up on offense. Bendy's got the sniper. Great first blood. Would have been traded immediately. Freaky inside of open. Can't push for the trade. He's stunned up.
Yeah, and Nade is going to push Freaky back as well. and where there is utility in response, but not enough to actually do anything of note. And I think as soon as Freaky speaks out, I mean, yeah, he's got a sniper of his own, but Bendy should have his number. Snipe off, and Bendy wins. 50-50 his way, bomb down.
Div can't push the trade either. Bendy's watching him, and that's why I talked about him at the top of the show, man. I mean, Bendy in Search and Destroy is a problem. We've been seeing snipes like this from this young man all year long. In the setup, again, I mean, for St. Clair, it's mostly just to get that first player out from the stage. If you are a player that's inside of the open archway, you're almost kind of tasked to try to push for that trade, but no nades, no stuns. Player underneath the door of closed as well. Didn't have an angle to stop them from crossing over by the gallows as well. As St. Clair pounds on a really good first blood.
Yeah, it's crazy just how many of these kind of early situations here on Fortress do come down to who wins those snipes, right? And it's St. Clair, that's for sure. Diff, mate, not the best stun, I'll tell you that much, as it doesn't exactly land where he wanted it. But look at this coming out from St. Clair. They've got themselves entrenched, relatively speaking, in towards the A site pretty early on. This aggression is going to force KB just to back away. They're relying on a play from behind from Freaky, and he will deliver it just like that. Unfortunately for him, Relays is pretty fast in response.
Yeah, I mean, he was all the way back on side of that open stairwell as well. And Newberry are actually taking this as an opportunity to fully flip, catch Realize off guard. Lost on the footsteps, trigger discipline, never met her. Looking for the first player to cross, not expecting for the second to also be there at the P1 cannon. And just as soon as that first blood came through for St. Clair, I loved the check, right? I mean, they were able to force out a 3v3 from KB being able to find that first blood. Trades were coming through galore, but talk about the quick decision-making coming through from the Wolves just to try to re-wrap over by P1 where KB was able to find that last kill. They utilized that previous information just to be able to gun the player top maps, know that there was going to be a player over by bottom boat windows, and find the kills required to be able to close out the round.
A big round coming out from Newberry. Big fighter kill as well. Now we'll see who wins the snipe off this time around. Bendy, can he get himself on, what is that, like a little pole? I don't know, stub in the ground. Gives him a little bit of a high advantage regardless. And I swear the first blood has already gone St. Clair's way.
2v4, you feel like you gotta chalk this. Cells, long-range gunfights, wall bangs are just as good for Priestley. Freaky, not gonna check this. I mean, you'd have to assume that Bendy's watching this with a boomstick all the way in the back stairs.
You'd assume, but you know what they say about to assume? There's definitely an ASS in there somewhere. Freaky's has just slapped the ground. And now Cells in a sticky situation. We'll be able to get one, Bendy down for the count, but that's actually not the most valuable of kills, to be fair. You've now got some Tacs and some Vaznevs to be worried about, not the sniper rifle anymore. Relayed, of course, with the heady at the back. Easy kill for him.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, I mean, the ace is always on the cards, right? But to be able to win it, you have to be able to deal with Relays all the way in the backside of this pallet truck. That's a tough head glitch. You would have had a player top rails, another tough gunfight inside of the gallows, and you would have had a player just kind of encroaching prone like over by the side door that leads to the art gallery as well. So very tough to be able to do. But again, St. Clair, as far as an offense is concerned, they decide the offensive round within the first few seconds with those first two quick kills. Newberry looking for a response yet again.
Well, Newberry, they have responded previously, and it looks like there's going to be a response in this round at least. An early attempt in towards getting a bottom arc is denied. Freaky. Gonna send Blaze on his way. Now looking for more. We close the doors for the moment, open things up, and what is going on? Like, sometimes the arm just, like, delays a little bit before you actually send your stun and nade off. That is yet another textbook case of that happening. But aggression now coming through from both sides as trades now going down, kills on both sides of the map, and in the end, it's a 2v2.
I'm going down today. Retake is pretty isolated, though the post lane is also very isolated as well. Priestley gets caught, Freaky down low. Wallbang shot's going to keep him one shot, but Relays isn't in a position to be able to pounce on said damage. Priestley's going to look to hit this from the front. He wants to pinch this with Relays. He's kind of got to go here.
Yeah, player around the back line. I was going to say that's the problem, right? Because KB was on that back logs heady. Now no longer the case. They know where Freaky is located, and Priestley more than happy to enact on that information. I mean, like, we see it. We don't get to see it, but that kill around the back line is so crucial to retaking.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, even that kill around the back towards that south lane, that streets, as you like to call it, Brody, it's just as good at just staying alive as well, because that's immediate information for Priestley where the next player is located at. So you'd have to assume for Priestley that's pushing through from open, who was already looking the back stairs. He wasn't instant shout from the bushes or inside of munitions itself. That player's going to be on the back pallets. I mean, by proxy, you're able to isolate that first player. You find the information for the second as well. He's immediately pinched, and Priestley is just making all the right decisions. Is winning the majority of his gunfights, at least through a map and a half so far. 2-round lead for the Saints.
Yeah, big round coming out from St. Clair to break serve early on in this search and destroy. Now they want to win the offense once again. And this is a very different play coming out from Newberry. Wanted to get themselves down that street side. Freaky, the only presence really up front, and he has the sniper rifle, so he might be able to catch somebody off guard. But KB alone, and he is weirdly alone, actually does get cut down, and that means there's no trade.
Priestley's the bomb carrier all the way on the pallet truck, by the way. He finds that first blood from an overextending KB. Who's yet to find a kill in this game so far, this map, I should say. That's going to prompt Saints to press on forward. Again, nobody was playing underneath the door. Freaky's just playing inside open. He will get the shot onto Bendy this time around. 3v3 for the retake.
Lynch gives him the headshot. Big kill coming out from him. Now the retake. Will take some time here for Diff to make some movement up towards the street side. Cells goes down. Diff weak from the first engagement. Well, dies eventually to Priestley anyway. And of course, Freaky, of course, being involved earlier on. They know more or less where he is located. 20 seconds left. Not the most amount of time in the world to make this happen. Snipes against the backline would be nice, but Priestley, I don't think he's going to give anything away for free. He almost gets a kill inside munitions, to be fair. I mean, he was given quite a lot of the torso to make it happen, but just no is exactly what goes on there.
Yeah, no. 1v3 retake with the sniper. I mean, if the signal 50 was allowed, maybe. Doesn't sound so cool. But just no. Again, and when you are going for broke for a defensive team that's immediately focused over towards streets, it really does only take that one kill. A glint from the sniper rifle, maybe to poke through open, but by the time Bendy got that information, the bomb's already down. And there was nobody, again, chowing underneath the closed door where you get the information wallbang shots for free defensively. Newberry allowing these A-plants to come through for free.
Yeah, that's a big round to lose now because St. Clair really do feel like they've got the wheels turning in this one. Laz, at the moment, just keeping an eye on those double windows, making sure that nobody peeks out for a look over towards the middle of the map. Instead, that peek is going to come from single off screen, and Diff does pick up that kill. Big gunfight to take. Oh, and Glaz. I just think Glaz doesn't actually have respect for human rights sometimes, and that is a prime example as to why Freaky now finds himself in a 1 versus 3. Might well get the kill against Bendy, and this is a realistic 1v1. All he needs to do is find a way to retrieve the bomb.
There's so much time and so many angles to clear. And like you were talking about, that bomb does need to get recovered. I think Relays is more than aware of it. Freaky had to have seen him, though, over inside of benches. Relays is backing up. He's making the right call. And Freaky, his dead silence has run out. He's expecting him to come up through maps. Relays doesn't have to move.
Feels like a game of who's going to blink first, and Relays might be the one. Ah, yeah, he's gone. I don't think he actually knows that bomb was down. I've been playing like there was some kind of return. Instead, now Relays is repositioned towards those back trucks, and it depends on the route that Freaky takes here in this scenario. Where does he go? And I don't know if he's chosen wisely here. He's made quite a lot of noise. Freaky now going to go check all of these corners, but not the one with the players again. What? What?
Whoa!
He didn't check that. That was the one corner he didn't check. He is dead. No. This is like the one universe out of like the 900 million where that 1v1 goes down and he doesn't die.
I was sitting there just ready to be like, I don't like anything about this play whatsoever. I mean, you essentially got the information that the last player for the Saints was rotating back up through streets to go check the A bomb. You recovered that bomb. Could have been an easy rotation to get the bomb planted and over at B. He just chases the gunfight. That should never happen, much less the way that he did it.
Massive 1v3, and again, it's all about momentum. St. Clair want to stop the bleeding from that round, and they're doing a good job of it so far. Priestley going to double up early on in this one. KB, he's been tagged up, and that is very quick. Butting heads on the A-bomb site. St. Clair, their head's bigger.
Yeah, I mean, if it comes down to it, and it's just raw gunfights in a 4v4 fashion, once St. Clair get the information, it's very rare, especially in this Fortress Search and Destroy, that they do lose. That was a very aggressive take yet again defensively from the Wolves, as all 4 players really were just all inside of the gallows just to expect the Saints to execute over towards A. They were right to a certain degree, just this time the Saints, instead of going up through the staircase, were looking for munitions and art control. They got it, plus the kills to boot. KB joining the agency. At point here for the Saints to take a 2-0 lead.
It doesn't look like it's getting any better, does it, for Newberry in this situation? Any attempt to get on towards the A-bomb site has been denied. Bendy's actually going to get aggressive with it, and there is the immediate punish. Finally, KB goes from the donut to the breadstick. Big kill to take. Now a 3 versus 3. Getting the bomb down now seems like a much more realistic prospect, but you cannot lose another player.
Priestley's holding the angle, though, especially for the cross. There could be that sweet timing come across. But the Wolves have all rejoined their forces around boat inside of our top single. KB is able to find his 2nd in the round. Are you listening to me, young man? Goes from the donut, finding 2 in the round. Surely there should be an egg execute going forward. Diff also was able to get some shots onto Blaz. So Priestley's going to give up the angle. Next one, KB has to cross, and Priestley, again, the timing. The bomb's going to get down, and Diff repositioned.
Yeah, as soon as this bomb goes down, Blaz and Priestley will move, and Diff should take them down. If they don't know that Diff is here, which it feels like they're actually playing for it, but Diff should have them both anyway. 1, 2. Just like that, Diff will double up, and that is a brilliant play. I was actually kind of concerned a little bit when all 3 players were like pushed all the way towards top munitions that they were going to get pieced, but no, they make it favorable.
Yeah, no, it's just clearing as many corners as possible. You get so much information from being inside a top single. You can get the long angle to look at the open staircase head glitch. You can see if anybody is more or less in and around the stables or inside of the P3 archway. So great repositioning off of Newberry there in the 3v-0. Able to put themselves in a position to stay alive in the search and destroy, albeit trailing by 2. Is this the start of something good for Newberry?
Well, they've got to make sure that they don't have any Wolves in their house. And Blaz might well be one of those players who's pushed all the way forward. But look at this coming out from Newberry here on the defensive side. Players pushing towards munitions. Cells trying to get control of Street. Losing Diff is going to make this much more urgent, and now they've lost KB as well. Relazed is going to bring this streak down. That's going to give them information as where these 2 players are. Big 1v1, and Blaz takes the head of Cells. And it's now Freaky for another 1 versus 3. This time to save the game, and they know where he is.
Yeah, he's got an SPX-80 as well. Bolt-action sniper rifles, and it's actually the weapon here on Fortress to potentially clutch things up. Going to pop that silence. It's going to reposition all the way inside munitions. Now, you feel like that the clock is ticking. Is the door actually open? Because Blaz will see him cross the moment he gets to open.
Yep. Shots going in. Down to 50 HP or so. And he just goes for the re-challenge with the pistol. There's no way Freaky wins this. And he gets knifed up towards the end. Oh, that's scary. Oh. Getting real life jump scared there in round number 9 for St. Clair to take it all. And Newberry, they offered some resistance there in that one. Some key touches coming through from, again, Freaky with that 1 versus 3, Andy. But that is not good enough. Blaze just, yeah, literally slices through their dreams.
Oh my god, that's terrifying. I mean, at that point, you're at a 3v1. I mean, I'd probably do the same thing. Just gonna put the guns away at that point. You know, he's either got the sniper or the pistol. I would just run at him too. I don't blame you though. No scopes are definitely on the table. Regardless, though, St. Clair definitely proving that they are the better team on the day. Again, they are very, very decisive. And although there were adaptations and reactions coming out from Newberry, I wouldn't necessarily coin them as the correct ones. I do love that call that came through the round that they won to be able to break the mold that put us into a 5-3 round count. And that was just conceding the space, just understanding that the Saints are going to be more aggressive. But through all of these A executes, I want to say the majority of the rounds offensively that St. Clair were able to win, it was solely off the reason that they were allowed to get such firm control of this site. Yeah, Bendy was sniping them to high oblivion, but you should barely even allow players to be able to cross all the way on that side of the gallows regardless. Nades, stuns, these all need to be on point early on, much less the positionings being held to deny St. Clair so many different power positions throughout the entirety of that bomb site. And you got to see there in the final round, once Realize calls in that cruise missile, all the information, if it was collected for the Saints, the gunfights were that much easier. I still have no idea how that round was able to be clutched up the way that it was. I mean, Realize was just chilling in that corner for about 20 seconds. Maybe put his controller down? I'm not too sure. It would have been a silly move regardless. But yeah, the Saints definitely bringing the house down as far as Newberry is concerned here in the map number 2.
Yeah, for sure. You know, it's worth saying, to be fair, that St. Clair did have some moments where it's just like they shouldn't have won that as well. I think about towards that 2 versus 2 that we saw in like round number 3 or 4. I think it was round number 4 where again they kind of broke the serve. That shouldn't have happened. So Newberry did play it relatively close, to be fair. It's just you've got to be more consistent at winning kind of those crucial engagements around the munitions building and making sure you do get control of the A site, because that's basically 70-80% of Fortress Search and Destroy, right? So big Search and Destroy for St. Clair to Saints to take. We'll talk about why in just a moment. Before we get there, though, again, here's the stats at the end, and it's Priestley at 9-3. That is the headline act for this one. 8 of those kills, Andy, are non-traded. Priestley having some serious presence once again here in the Search and Destroy. But as we said, also the snipes from Bendy, pretty helpful.
I don't know if I can trust all these stats, because I mean, realize did get that streak, and it says that he has 0 out of 8 non-traded kills. I would believe it for Priestley. I mean, that guy is just gunning, man. I mean, he is just looking different. And whether he goes back and he watches this broadcast, if anybody's out there whatsoever for the Saints, get this guy in challengers, man. Hey, that guy is an absolute gem and a half. He is very talented, unless he has some big boy job set up. I mean, that's what college is all about at the end of the day. But regardless, the Saints, man, firmly in the driver's seat. Maybe Expo could offer up some breath of fresh air, perhaps, for Newberry, but I mean, they got to start winning these gunfights outright first, otherwise they're going to get absolutely punished on a map like Expo.
Yeah, not the start I think that Newberry wanted here, right, to this group, of course. They want to get a win somewhere along the line, whether versus this team or the next one, to try and keep their playoff streams alive. So St. Clair, their heads are in the clouds, mate. They're ready to go. 2-0 up. They're looking pretty good. Can they finish this series? Find out after the break. Welcome here to CCL. We're, of course, here with the LAN qualifiers, ready to get more teams into that LAN. As St. Clair, well, they're pretty close at least to continuing their journey with a 2-0 current series versus Newberry Esports. But before we talk about any more of that series, I've got 2 crucial questions. 1, Andy, how you doing? 2, we've got some groups to look at. I don't know how they're doing, so can we look at those groups?
First of all, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for asking, Brody. It does mean a lot that you do care about my well-being. And here are those group standings as well. Again, we were telling you that we were going to give you the updates as far as Farmingdale is concerned. FSC were able to take down the Bulldogs of JMU, find themselves down 0-2, and you can see how things have already shaped up as well. FSC will be taking on the Panthers out of Davenport. Mars Hill will be taking on the Aggies from New Mexico State. That should be a really good matchup. I'm actually excited for that one. First place of Group C versus second of Group D, which is what we are looking at here. Is for all intents and purposes, we are currently in Group D. CSUN will be taking on Newberry in our next stream matchup, I do believe, unless the schedule has changed. But the Saints are the clear-cut favorite. Again, when you're looking at the first place that could potentially come out from Group D, you're going to potentially be looking at the second place coming out from Group D, which if you're me, and you've been watching CCL all year long, you know some of these players, I'd assume that's probably going to be the Cougars, but hey, anything can change, anything's possible, baby.
Yeah, what was it that Jesse and Colin said earlier on? It's just like, if you've learned anything about CCL over the last few years, Andy, it's just that you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, they said that, but it was like well more Canadian than what you just put out.
I don't want to do it in Canadian.
Yeah, yours was really British for some reason.
I have a feeling it might. Well, yeah, I don't know, bud. Sometimes I just like say things in British. 100% of the time. I'm not too sure why. Regardless, we have a match. It's Expo control here between St. Clair and Newberry, and well, their fingertips, the only thing keeping them in this game, is they are hanging very much off the ledge.
Yeah, and one finger has just snapped off of that ledge, either from frostbite or just from sheer grit coming through from the Saints. What an opening break. Only able to get that first segment off of A. Newberry are spawning in a position to where they can minorly contest this. I mean, it comes down to gunfights that are basically being gifted to you via hate checks coming out. Bendy's also got the fisticuffs, has 4 on his first life. Next up to bat will be Cells, but the gun was not ready. This should be the A-zone chalk. Newberry more than aware of this. They are, again, running towards this B-zone with their tail tucked between their legs.
Yeah, they might have a chance. Cell's just going to make sure he checks that corner in time. Yes, he does actually pick up that kill versus Blaz, and this is okay, but you've got to get your Cells on towards the point right about now when I think it's that kill comes through. Maybe some heroics from KB? No, not to be found. And I was going to say they're in their play. Like, the good news, I suppose, for Newberry is they haven't actually got themselves spawn trapped in, right? Like, St. Clair haven't got their ARs posted up just yet. now I feel like they're starting to get those players in position. Look at Priestley right now on 4 in a row, picking up these players coming off the spawn. And that isolates Freaky and Cells towards this point. But as players are actually going down towards that B side, I think Priestley might want to get a little bit more active into the play. And now he doesn't have that choice.
Yeah, I mean, get as active as you possibly can, right? I mean, in Priestley's previous position, you got to see what it unfolded on the mini-map. A little split spawn affair coming in for Newberry as players are spawning a little bit further south over towards the lounge rather than inside of the projector room or backstage, whatever you want to call it. Newberry now able to marginalize that life lead. That was 5, just trailing by about 4. They're all turning up inside of the site itself, and that just means you got to win every single gunfight that comes your way. Trades galore. Saints got numbers.
Now, Priestley with the pre-fight, taking down Freaky. Now they can start to make this progression happen. Relays with the coverage from this top side. Sees that KB has just thrown, or somebody, doesn't know necessarily it's KB, has just thrown utility out from that corridor area. So now knows exactly where players are going to come from. And Newberry, this is a really tough one to break into. You have to just kind of fly on through. There is an opportunity to contest just by kind of sticking your gun out towards the door side. But as Freaky picks up that first kill there, St. Clair find themselves removed. And they actually remove Relays from the power position too. So St. Clair here momentarily are removed from that control point. But look at them now enacting this flanking from behind. Bendy, he's here. Blast is here as well. But Bendy has just been spied out by Cells. Doesn't matter. Bendy's going to win that 1v1 all day long.
And Blaze is also able to find Freaky as well. So this is map positioning gone completely awry. And St. Clair really need Diff to turn up here in the projector room. Is able to find the first. But the clock is being stalled out by 45 seconds. There's realistically 2 different ways that Saints can win this round.
Well, as you say, Diff has a lot to do here. Weight of the world on his shoulders. He's going to activate the dead silence to ease that weight just a little bit. The one player is gone. But again, you've got Bendy right towards your left to deal with. And to be fair, Relays goes down. There's another one as well. Cells and Diff now going to combine gear, double up, and make this from a 4 versus 10 into a 4 versus 7. St. Clair, they might well have the life advantage, but they do not have the Mac advantage because now Newberry have pushed all the way forward and they've got to check so many different corners to try and take these players down. You've lost yet another 1v1. The stun check now starting to come through here from St. Clair. They know that somebody's located, but look at the kill feed. Now a 3 versus 4 as Diff is going to double up elsewhere. And now Newberry actually not in a bad spot whatsoever, but a big 1v1 to lose.
He's got to play the trades, 4v2. Someone's got to step on the zone as well. KB's just playing the back seats to boot. But you still have no idea where Freaky's located at. He's playing all the way to the bottom side of the stairs looking to pinch this with his teammate.
Yeah, KB down. They know where Freaky is as well because, again, he's just picked up 1 kill. God, how many times have we said that this series thus far?
Oh, man.
Freaky gonna be down. And that's unfortunate there, Animate, isn't it? Because they actually made that a realistic prospect, right? They were in, what, a 4 versus 10? I think it was, or 5 versus 10, something like that. They made that much closer than it needed to be for St. Clair.
Yeah, you could probably start flushing out where a lot of these players are located at if you are the Saints, given how much clock was left on the game in that round. I mean, it allowed for Freaky, again, off the respawn. He pushed all the way past the lounge, over by the diner. He finds that first kill, and I'm sure the Saints are just like, why are you there? The A control zone was captured a long time ago, so there's no reason for that player to be in that position. It just came down to KB holding inside the zone himself. I guess if Newberry, you are counting your blessings, that round ended via kills, not by ticks.
All right. Well, St. Clair, they open things up with the first round victory. How do Newberry respond here? Well, it's going to be an immediate push up towards B to kick things off. Of course, that is the easier point to take down. And as KB finds 2, Newberry now going to be able to get that and achieve their dream. And I think for St. Clair here, just because of how quickly this point is going to pass them by, the best possible thing they can do is just set themselves up for an A-hold. And that is exactly what's going to happen here. You can already see those players start to encroach. Bendy in from behind. Surely they're going to check it. And, well, they check it, but it's Bendy. There's not really much you can do.
Yeah, I gotta love that respect that's coming through from St. Clair. I mean, the opening break-off saw themselves going all the way over towards B, so immediately chalk that, set yourselves up for that A-zone defense like you were talking about, Brody. Player number 1 has realized he's pushed all the way past the hotel area, waiting for players just to come across that back street area. You're going to be setting a couple players to maybe go rogue, maybe find a couple of kills, but St. Clair, they're offering up a lot of space. It's going to cause a lot of distress for Newberry to check every single corner, waste a lot of that clock before they can get close to this A-zone.
Yeah, Relay's not really ready for that 1 versus 1 there. For Newberry, excuse me, I think the objective here is just to try and pull some player through behind enemy lines to cause some havoc, to really distract some of these players. Priestley, on the other hand, is looking to try and keep these guys at bay. Unfortunately, not going to win the first gunfight, so that's not going to be good news for them. And Newberry now can start to advance. Fortunately, Freaky and KB have died towards top glass, and now Newberry just reliant on what Cells and Diff can produce inside this control zone. There goes KB. Now Cells Hasn't been found out just yet, and now they know where he is, but it doesn't matter because Cells will find 2. Cells will give another 3, but runs out of ammunition to get it done. That is tough, and St. Clair regain control.
Yep, able to at least deplete what was going to be looking like a second segment there if Cells can go off, or if not, it just had an extra bullet. Trigger discipline exemplified there from Diff. Able to find the first. Player playing around the corner here inside the lounge. That stun should connect. No, it bounced a little bit too far forward, but he still gets the centering, realizes able to get that kill. So at least your flank is minorly secure. KB's looking to, in fact, more vengeance in towards his back line. Looking to pop that silence to boot. Can't find the gunfight either. And all of those kills over by the pool. The A control zone are coming up all for the Saints. They have a 6-life lead. Bendy's on a 5 spree. 38 seconds remain.
It's not the best receptionist, this is Bendy. He's sending players
Very
away.
mean one, yeah.
Yeah, just not nice at all. Somebody sent him HR. He's going to get denied the streak, though. 17 versus 9. I don't think they exactly need one here in this round. Every single attempt at sending players in behind enemy lines has been completely thwarted. Now for Relays and Blaze. Combined 9 spree between them. They're looking to double up on cruise missiles. Relays now picking off players from spawn. Diff looking to turn around. And oh, you just cannot take down Relays. 16 versus 4 now. Can anybody get past square one? Can anybody pass go in this situation? If anybody does it, it's Diff from the other side. But Blaz and Bendy will double up. 0.2 seconds on the clock. Finally, Newberry do touch, but it's too little. Much too late.
Get those 4 seconds, but they lose by a lot of lives. And again, I'll throw it out there. I mean, I'd have to go back and really dissect that one moment. But if Cells really had, what, 2-3 more bullets? How many bullets he needed to be able to get that last kill. He finds that 3 spree. We could potentially be looking at something entirely different. Production is in my brain. There's the first, the second. He snaps, and he gets the information for Blaze coming around the back line. I mean, he really just needed 2 more bullets. That was some insane slide movement that was coming through from Blaze. I thought they removed that from that game, or from the game, but he's looking a little different there as far as the slide chow is concerned. He gets that kill. That A control zone goes bye-bye. And now it's the Saints with the 2-0 lead, not only in the series, but also in the control.
Blaze is just different, mate. He is the movement. At this point, it would seem.
I guess so.
Maybe not being the most dominant here in this game at 13 and 13, but you don't really need to when Bendy's at 19 and 10 and Priestley's at 17 and 9. But moving towards this round, Raid's already starting to go down. Cells will double up, and once again, will be denied the 3K here as Newberry looking to remove St. Clair from control over towards A. It was Freaky who attempted to flank there. Will be denied. So now St. Clair feel comfortable enough to get themselves on towards the point. They were pretty hopeful that Bendy would be able to set up a spawn trap, but he is going to be denied. Now players once again coming on the flank here for Newberry. This would be great if they could take all of these players away. It is just Blaze that's been isolated, and he will go down. So this is probably the best we've actually had Newberry look so far here in this control.
Everything's wall bangable over there for KB. Gets caught as soon as he was trying to cause a little bit more distress going over towards the blue tent is Cells. He's looking to get more kills on the back streets. He's able to find 2, gets the centering for Relays. Also inside the reception area, it is traded out immediately. Tough shots, shaky at that for Diff, but again, trades are good for Newberry. Just that single segment was captured over at A, so Saints are looking to take their virtues to B.
Yeah, it's an easy point to capture. I say easy. There are no easy points, but it's just because the entry points are basically just choke points. You're rarely going to be able to kind of safely find your way through here. That it is basically a kind of a foregone conclusion that you will capture it. St. Clair know that. That's why they've just gone for the easy point just to get themselves an extra 60 seconds on the board. Diplo might be able to take Bendy out around the back line, but he might get traded out. The stun and the nade at least will connect and send him packing just for the moment. But B, regardless of those efforts, will fall by the wayside. The extra 60 seconds now there for St. Clair. The question then becomes, what does the reactionary play look like? Because they want to send players in from behind, but Priestley knows that Diff is still hanging about.
Either Diff is just playing for exits or he's waiting for dead silence. He's starting to move now all the way to the backstage. We'll have to see what he's able to get at it. Also able to come up with the kills all across the board. 4 dead. Yeah, you were able to get 60 seconds, but Newberry made it expensive for St. Clair's to adapt such a purchase. That round 5 offense is already on the cards. If you are Newberry, you just got to hold on here in the defense.
Yeah, this has been not a bad round whatsoever, right? Newberry, again, kind of as you say, they forced St. Clair into hitting B just a little bit later than they would have liked. But now a couple of kills starting to come through for St. Clair. They've at least started to unearth these players from behind. Haven't quite accounted for KB, though, who has found himself in towards the restaurant. He's got himself the advanced orders in before anybody else. Before the restaurant is even really open. Now more kills coming through for Newberry. They are clearing all the right areas on the minimap, and off the back of that play, you got to imagine that Newberry can start to regress forward. Freaky, he tries to enact the spawn trap, but St. Clair will deny it here as we hit the last 24 seconds on the clock. KB, is he ready for this? Newberry, ready for this as they start to push on through St. Clair, putting a lot in towards the bar area. You can see Freaky, though. He's positioned perfectly to deal with it. Will pick up Priestley. Now Bendy in the corner. Goes for the drop shot, but Bendy does win that 1v1. Trade's good for KB, and another one as well. A 13 versus 3 scenario, and nobody from St. Clair close. Newberry, well, they are not going to die here.
No, they're not. And just one thing with how close it really is as far as kills are concerned. 4 segments come through, so it's now the 9-4, and you have to take a look at this best possible case scenario if you are a fan of the Wolves from Newberry. How do you take down St. Clair? How do you stay alive inside the series? Well, obviously winning the offense would be step one, so that way not only do you stay alive with the control, but the series galore, but doing it via segments would actually garner them that round 5 defense if that's what they do prefer. Their setups, their pushes, once they got those kills, once the B zone was chalked, they were always having players in the right position, throwing shoulders where required, and keeping everybody from staying at an AR's length. Just comes down to this offense. It's going to be the majority of this push is coming through the bottom side of the restaurant and all the way over towards the pool. Is already a player on the zone. First segment on the way.
Worth note saying as well as Relays picks up 2 and a 20 HP. Surely he doesn't get this third. At least going to send KB away here momentarily, and we're right into the not so welcome arms of Priestley, who does take them down. There goes Relays. Now I was going to say Relays does actually have the streak ready to go if he wants to use it. A more immediate problem though, A is about to get captured here. Diff looking to take some of these players off spawn. Good stun check coming through. They know at least relatively speaking where he is, and unfortunately instead of getting the jump shot, goes for the mantle and does go down. This needs to be a very clean reaction off the back of this loss, because St. Clair cannot afford to lose B straight after losing A.
What does Cells do in this position? He's got a trophy. And he's just going to wait for players to come in towards his line of sight. Bursts open the door, looking for the centering as well. Priest is going to give him a couple love taps in from behind. But Cells just needs to stay alive over here. Reinforcements are on the way. His name is Freaky, and he's able to find kill number 6 in a row. A cruise missile has been answered now for Newberry, and KB is also able to find Priestley too. So now the B zone is starting to opening. Newberry, they smell blood in the water.
Ready to win this round out. Freaky goes down though. Priestley able to double up around the back line. Now this is a one-man attack coming through from Newberry, and Diff actually makes it realistic. Cells comes through for number 3, and all they have to contend with now is Priestley up top. They know it as well. You can see Cells with a pre-aim. He knows exactly where that player is located. And Priestley now has to get his way towards this point, has to get involved in the action. Here he goes. There's one. The second progression has come through, and Bendy on the other side has picked up another kill. And once again, Priestley finds himself isolated. You have no choice in this situation but to just fly towards the point. Can anybody from the other side contest in time? No is the answer. And somehow, from the brink, I mean, earlier on at the start of this control, Andy, we were saying that Newberry, their fingers are the only thing keeping them on the ledge, effectively the ledge here in this play. Now, they've got themselves pulled right back up, and they're fighting.
Yeah, I mean, fighting to say the least. They came up from said cliff, and they are just absolutely tearing down St. Clair 2 rounds in a row. First sweep in the control for a reverse sweep in the series wouldn't be the craziest thing we've seen in CCL history. I'm sure of it, but I mean, Cells is just hitting so hard right now. 28-19, 22-23 for Dit, 26-24 for Freaky. These are your suspects for Newberry that St. Clair need to deal with. And again, getting that last segment of progression means that the Saints are on offense for round 5. Newberry won their previous defense. They only allowed 4 segments to come all the way through. And the way that they did it was through an opening break, opening up with 2 kills.
Yeah, this has just been so clean. Great stuff coming out from Newberry, but you haven't quite cleared house just yet. Blaze has managed to get in from behind, and he's still continuing to do damage as well. There's Freaky down for the count. Diff is now the last one left alive on this defense, and he goes down. And uh-oh, Spaghetti-O. Not so good anymore. This has been a mostly flawless defense coming out from St. Clair. Or offense, excuse me. Now looking for more kills, and it is going from bad to worse. Freaky down to 1 HP. Going to hit the regen, but it's just not enough. And you have no map control whatsoever.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you technically have negative map control when you're looking at it. I mean, finally you take care of Bendy. He was all the way over by the lounge stairs. That might open up an avenue to maybe look at the dead pool zone over at A. But Priestley's already got that third segment to come all the way through. Next up to bat is going to be Blaze. Inside of the reception area, he's able to get cut down. But the returning gunfights again for St. Clair, that much better. 25 plays up against 16.
Yeah, and it looked like a moment of reprieve, but I don't think there is such a thing when you're playing up against St. Clair, is that they seem to have completely flipped the momentum right back in their favor after losing the last couple of control rounds here. Relays is actually going to get the team kill there. So we'll isolate Relays inside this point, and Priestley close by. Relays now going to be weak towards this gunfight and does actually end up losing it. So big one for Diff. Now Priestley towards the backline. I think he's just been spotted out on the entry here by Freaky, but it wins the gunfight anyway. That's 5 in a row for Priestley at 33 and 20. He is keeping his team in the game alongside the antics of Bendy. Finally, though, Priestley goes down and they do clear house.
Priestley feeling himself just a little bit there. Could have got himself a cruise missile. Not like it's the most important and potent here on Expo, but still a 6-3 regardless. Had no teammates assistance whatsoever, so it allows Newberry an inkling to get control of this map yet again. Cells over top of Bar. Priestley's not going to let him have it. Able to at least get one off the board, but it's a 2-for-1 trade. The Saints, again, reeling off 4 map positioning. Newberry chipping away at that clock, but they're running out of lives.
Yeah, I'm starting to think about harking back towards that round number 1, right, where it was, what, a 4 versus 11 for Newberry, and they almost made it happen. I don't think this is outside the realms of possibility at all, especially given that, again, they are on the defense here in the plate, but they have to make sure they're just annoying towards St. Clair. Do not let them get in any of these positions that would be considered powerful. Relays is now in one of those positions. KB cannot see him from there. Needs to get right, stuck in the mud and deal with him himself, and instead now going to have to go back. Finally, there you go. Now players going on the point, once again going to go down. 40 seconds now left on the clock. A 5 versus 12 scenario, and St. Clair looking to find their way through.
And they're all going to have to turtle up in towards the backstage. We got one player of 6. He's actually starting to rotate all the way through the old control zone. He's actually joining Cells, but you see off screen is currently working so well. Comes back up top in Projector and is letting the team have it. 24 seconds remaining. 1 respawn remaining for Newberry.
I don't think the lives matter, to be frank. I mean, there's 19 seconds left on the clock here. Newberry know that. They can just work off the back of these power positions. Cell's going to lose the second gunfight there. Now 4 versus 8 scenario. Bendy looking to stop the clock, and he's not going to be able to do so. It's ticking down once again. Priestley getting involved in the action. There's Diff down for the round, but KB in from behind, looking to put this one away. Relays, what can you do? You have to win the gunfights, and he wins the first. And in this position, you're hitting the regen. All you've got to do is waste time for the rest of the team can come and overwhelm Freaky. And just like that, they're putting the nails in one of the coffin here for Newberry as they do lose this series 3-0. And we thought for a second there, mate, that they managed to pull themselves up from that metaphorical ledge. Back down they go.
Right, that's why respawns mattered, man. You can keep one player there to at least keep the point contested, maybe throw at least a gunfight, a shoulder, maybe, but the respawns matter just for the reinforcements alone. That's what the Saints had over the heads of the Wolves coming out from Newberry, man. It was so close. Again, that's not 2 offenses that you really do feel like Newberry could have won. It just came down to their decision to turtle all the way to the back of stage. You had 2 players that were trying to flank all the way through pool. It's a great call. If you can have a player go on a route and find value like that, it's fantastic. If Cells can stay alive top Projector forever, then it's great. But losing those 2 lives the way that they did all the way through the old dead control zone there at A was really the spelling of disaster for Newberry there in the final few moments. But I mean, the opening breakoff for Saints in that offense really did set the pace, and it was amazing to even witness. And Newberry, for one, got map control back. They got out of the spawn trap. They were able to get backstage. They were able to get the B zone back in their control twice, maybe even thrice. The Saints are just that much better. They just came through the opening breakoffs again through those 2 offensive rounds that they won in such a regard. Having the life deficit means everything when it comes down to Expo when you were just throwing bodies at these zones.
And what a control of 2 halves, right? Maybe 3. I know that's not halves. 3/3. Is that a thing? Can we make that a thing, Andy?
Sure.
Regardless, it really did feel like a very different control between the first 2 rounds and then rounds number 3 and 4, where Newberry didn't really feel they had that much control in the first couple of rounds, right? I think maybe in the first Newberry, they almost made that 4 versus 10, I think it was, happen. But beyond that, St. Clair felt like they had full control of the steering wheel, as it were. They were in the driving seat. But Newberry in the second half, man, I don't know where they came from, just absolutely out of nowhere. Especially this round number 3, that was probably the most dominant round of the lot.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, again, it's mostly just coming down to Cells. He's that AR with the trophy system. He's locking down these longer lanes of sight. Freaky was hitting a lot of angles and finding a lot of good timings to boot, and that works out so wonderfully as 2 different ARs hitting you on 2 different sides of a map like Expo. It's just so disastrous that it mostly just comes down to the forcing hand that was the Saints. I mean, you got to see it there from Blaze a handful of times. A lot of good clips coming through from Bendy, Priestley, who was always seemingly felt like he had a Vaznov in hand, but mostly it was the TAC 56 crying out loud. That guy is gross. But man, the Saints absolutely, I mean, you felt like that it wasn't going to be the control. They clearly were the better team here today. Newberry showed a great signs of hopes in a few rounds of the Search and Destroy. A lot of good hopes here in the control. A lot of good decision-making being won there as far as these rounds are concerned. Even in those final few moments, if you're in a 1v odd situation, you almost feel like that you have to throw an ego challenge just to win that opening gunfight, let the clock start ticking all the way down. It just comes through the sheer ability, I will say that much, for the Saints just to always throw shoulders, always throw full bodies at Newberry just because they were expecting to win the gunfights. The confidence was there continuously through the series. You could see it erupt here in the control. 35 and 28 for Bendy, 36 and 24 for Priestley. These guys were absolutely having.
Yeah, absolutely they were. I don't know what it is about St. Clair, but it feels like every single map, there's like 2 players that turn up, right? We go back to, of course, on map number 1, it was like Relays and Priestley here. Bendy and Priestley are those guys with 35+ kills between them. And then on the other side, from Newberry, I mean, like, we do have to give a shout out, I think, to Freaky and Cells, because they were doing what they could, albeit, you know, ultimately, Freaky does finished just barely positive. I think it says a lot, though, that he finishes, what, 65 engagements, if my math isn't correct there, at the end of the game. That's nuts. Cells with 35 and 29 as well. Yeah, you got to give them their props. They definitely kind of tried to keep their team in it, and they did a lot of damage in rounds number 3 and 4 particularly, but it just was not enough. As Newberry walk away with the L there, they lose 3-0. And, you know, I don't mean this in any negative way. You know, I'm British. I'm quite a negative person, generally speaking. But I feel like, to a certain extent, it was expected. It's St. Clair, right? This roster is expected to make playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, even just when we were taking a look at the groups as a whole, you really do feel like that if the Saints are in here with CSUN, like that, you do feel like that out of those 3 teams, St. Clair should be the guaranteed #1 team out from this group. And I think that this first set versus Newberry really did set the pace for anybody doubting on St. Clair, the way that they lost to Davenport. If the retribution in the lower finals wasn't enough for you, look no further to how well St. Clair have been playing ever since that loss, albeit losing to Northwood for that LAN playoff spot. Their hopes are still very much so alive here in the last LAN qualifier.
Yeah, indeed they are. Absolutely. They're still alive for now. St. Clair, of course, with the 3-0, they'll be feeling pretty happy at the fact that they did just get that win, and now they're one step closer, as you say, Andy, to making it towards the LAN. We've still got a long journey to go. We've still got, at least you and I, 2 more matches to go before we can put a team in towards playoffs. So why don't we step away here for a moment and get ourselves recollected so we can get in towards our next match of the day. Don't go far, folks, because there's more CCL action on the other side.